when you start making new lows and you're seeing really big volume. It's kind of why I'm really bullish on TRVL. I mean, people are like, may think to, I mean, I know TRVL, the fundamentals of the project are off the charts. The team are amazing. Yeah, they're really good people. I love them really. Basically like my family. TRVL had the same problem. This is the Bybit chart. Similar problem to what I always describe. The idea of not holding the lows. There's a caveat with TRVL, and so you have to understand, like, not every situation is the same. And why is TRVL different? Because TRVL experienced something very similar. It couldn't hold the lows, and naturally what you see when you can't hold the lows is, look how strong a resistance that this area has become now. Just that launch price has become such a strong resistance for the price. That's why it's problematic. That's why it's good to not make a low after you launch. The launch price is really important on these tokens, and this is something to bear in mind. The thing about TRVL in my mind is slightly different from a lot of tokens which have dropped. Is firstly, they literally launched at the worst week possible. They literally launched when Bitcoin and everything peaked. Literally, that was the worst week to launch a coin. Yeah, once all of the pumps, all of the hysteria, all of the market, everything has been now it's going down. You don't launch when everything is now going down. So what you're experiencing with TRVL is fundamentally right up till October the 23, from the first week, which was the first week of December or last week of November, you're experiencing 21 or through to less than 2 years, or just about 2 years of downward pressure. And that's just the markets being down. And that's what you're experiencing here. And then the other thing that I like, even though people don't necessarily understand it, there was an attempt at defending the lows here. You see that was an attempt. Yeah, that gives you confidence that there was an attempt. It was just a really bad timing. If it was any other time in the market, that would have been the low. That would have been it. You know, this token would have probably been in. You're basically looking at a completely different token then, because Gary says I bought some Quiz Tama. Yeah, no, we're in trouble. And Zempon Pump Fun. Is there a Zelensky? Or Rasputin? All right. So there was an attempt at the lows, defending the lows. You see that, yeah? There's a little bit of volume coming in as well. So you want to see that. You want to see, and the timing was really bad. And that's the problem with when people are looking at this, they're thinking, so shit, why has it gone down? Is there a problem? I'm not seeing what I've talked about this. I'm not seeing rug pulls. I'm not seeing a lack of defense of the lows. I'm seeing I'm seeing that volume came in to try and defend the lows. Where is that volume coming from? Well, naturally, you know, people with TRVL, there was an attempt made to defend the lows. And the other thing that I like about TRVL, I mean, obviously you see that the launch price was a difficult barrier, and it still is that you flattened out the momentum. It's really important with these tokens to flatten out the momentum. So you can see here on the higher time frame, weekly time frame, you got a pretty flat moving averages. We don't have the monthly because we don't have 50 months yet, but what you can see is the Bollinger Band, and that's the 20 monthly moving average. And you can see right now what's happened is the price has come up into the monthly Bollinger Band, found the resistance, pulled right back, and we've come back effectively to the midpoint of the Bollinger Band, the 20 moving average on the monthly. this is kind of the right place to be if we want to go up. Like, we're not going to go up if we're in the lower part of the Bollinger Band. We're only going to go up if we're in the top part. And as you can see, the averages are flat. The moving averages are flat. So here, look, I'm looking at the weekly moving average. You can obviously see that we're underneath the midpoint. So naturally, on the weekly time frame, if we're thinking up, we're thinking what we're looking for, all of us, is an expansive move, aren't we? We're looking for an expansion in price, and also we want that price to not come back down anytime soon. So while this looks like it was expansive, it probably wasn't. And what we kind of want is an expansive move, and we want the midpoint to hold for continuation. That's kind of what we want. So you see 2 times in the past on the weekly time frame, you can kind of see how we had an expansion from the bottom here to the top, and it failed at the midpoint, went all the way down. And here we had an attempt to expand, and again, it's failed. Yeah, we had a second failure. Next time, I think if we can flip that weekly 20 midpoint into support, then we have a good chance for another attempt. That's kind of what you're looking for an attempt to expand this, the price higher. Obviously 9 cents is a key level, but you know, like what I was saying is very different to some other coins which have just dumped. There was an attempt made. You can actually see that attempt on Gate. So on Bybit it's very difficult to see because the volume back then, dare I say it, back then was low. But here on Gate, you can see that back in 22. Let me put the volume back up. Look at that volume. See that? There's quite a lot of volume here as the price tried to come up. For sure, some of that volume is trapped liquidity now, but there was an attempt. An attempt was made to defend these lows, to defend the 9 cents level. And if you don't see that in tokens, you have to be wary. Yeah, and the context of this token is very important. The context of when it launched. If this had launched last week or a few months ago, or whatever, there's no way we'd be trading at 4.9 cents. Impossible. Impossible. It'd be impossible with everything that they've done and created, with everything, with the application, the peer-to-peer, all of that stuff. After launch, we'd probably be like up there by now, probably, in the context of the Bitcoin bull market. But that's okay, because that just gives us an opportunity to buy cheap TRVL. And that's the great thing about buying now, is that in the future, if and when we go up, which I'm expecting, it's, unless something crazy happens, which I don't think it will, but you know, you never know, it's very unlikely that we end up coming back down into this lower range. Yeah, especially if you get to higher prices, because let's just say, for the sake of argument, you get to $4 or $5, whatever, $1, $2, $3, whatever. People are taking profit. Sure, that's normal. Yeah, and you're in price discovery and we're pumping. And then in the future, we have some kind of correction, some kind of deep correction. And you would probably, the first big correction will probably be a deep correction. So hypothetically, if we had a wave 1 somewhere here, and this is our wave 2, you see it's quite deep. After the first wave, usually it's quite deep. And then you have a wave 3, wave 4, wave 5. Then you would potentially, you'd be expecting the price to have a deep correction, potentially, depending on how high it gets. That first wave, you're potentially looking for a deep correction. But what actually ends up happening is that people who sold at the high numbers, 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever dollars, will go, oh my God, this is really cheap again. Like TRVL is back at whatever, 16 cents or 9 cents or whatever like that, you know? And so naturally, it's very unlikely for the price to go high and then fall back to the lows. Very unlikely. People like myself people like Dan, people like Craig, or anyone else, you know, when they scale out, when we scale out a little bit or a lot or whatever in the peak of madness, and then we'll have a little bit of value set aside, and you know, we'll be just waiting for the price to come right back down, you know, fill back. And it's the same idea, you know, you just fill all the gaps, you count the corrections, you time the corrections, and you time it with Bitcoin. Now what happened, and then this is the question, what happens if Bitcoin super cycles? Is possible. I think Bitcoin could possibly super cycle this time round, and basically that means it just never really comes back down. It just keeps on kind of gradually going up and up and up. It doesn't necessarily mean that the altcoins don't have deep corrections. Yeah, you'll notice that when Bitcoin does pull back, altcoins usually pull back significantly more, and obviously the sentiment of the market is really important. So if Bitcoin is going to super cycle, you may see a period where Bitcoin just goes sideways or slightly down. That may still have an adverse effect on the rest of the market, you know. So who knows? The other thing you have to bear in mind, and this is what kind of really interests me with TRVL, is the fundamentals. And so while at the moment I'm just looking at this from a charting perspective, from a technical perspective, who knows, like what happens if you suddenly start getting thousands and thousands and thousands of bookings or reservations, and then all of a sudden you're seeing a massive growth curve on the TRVL buyback. Yeah, during a bear market, these RWOs are so resilient, and especially if the business keeps on growing and growing and growing, and we have to see it. And we're having some kind of massive growth on Dtravel and TRVL. And if that continues, and that starts to kind of, if the growth curve starts to go up, then we may be in a different situation. You know, we may be in a much different situation where the price does go up because of the bull market, but the price doesn't really come back down so much. Yeah, it just kind of goes, you end up with a flat correction. And that could simply be because of the business growing and growing and growing and growing and growing. And suddenly you start getting daily, you start seeing on that Telegram channel, new host, new property, new. If you start seeing that, it'd be very difficult to sell, wouldn't it? If you start seeing that increase and increase and increase and increase, because that's got nothing to do with crypto. That's just the real world doing business. And if you start seeing the real world business start to grow and grow and grow and flourish, and when that's going to have a direct impact on the token value, and we may actually be ending up seeing something completely different in the future. You've got to bear those things in mind. Yeah, there will be a correction. There always is. After we see each wave, there's always a correction. And after we see the 5 waves, we'll have a much higher time frame correction. No one can predict how that's going to play out. No one. Yeah. But the reason why I think probably will never come back down below here once we cross it, little back test, is because it's just too low, isn't it? Like 9 cents. If you're trading at $3 or $2 or whatever, it's just inconceivable that the price is going to go all the way back down to 9 cents without 9 cents being bought up crazily, you know, by people like me. And so that's something to bear in mind. So I'm quite interested to see how the future develops. Yesterday we had a bullish day. Got a massive bullish reaction yesterday. We had a reversal pattern here. It was just a bullish engulfing. You see this candle here? That's a bullish engulfing. Don't see those too often. Yeah, you see how it closes above? It kind of completely engulfs that red candle. And then you see one last liquidity grab from the lows and a buy up. Low volume at the moment, but these candles are reflecting market behavior, and the market has not allowed the price to go lower. Yeah, even though I've been talking about the possibility of going lower, what I would like to see, what would make sense. I don't control this. TRVL is doing what it wants to do, really. And we're just kind of analyzing it and kind of commentating on it and looking for good places to buy and stuff. And that's kind of why I was saying, you know, like the best strategy is to dollar cost average in. Is this a low? Is the low in? It could be, yeah, it could be. And that's why you have to scale in, because you just don't know. You know, you have like yesterday I was looking at trying to get slurf lower and it just started to pump. There's nothing you can do about that. So the question now, I think most people are asking is, are we pumping or are we still correcting? And generally speaking, pumps are impulsive. Not generally speaking, always. Wave, it's going to be impulsive, right? We're going to have an impulse. And the other thing that you have to bear in mind, and this is something that you have to bear in mind, all right? While I've potentially counted 5 waves here, and I've been talking about the waves, the Elliott waves, a lot. So let me just pull up my Elliott waves now on TRVL, and you have to reanalyze and consider what could or could not happen or what needs to happen. Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know. Like I'm just making this up. I have no idea. Okay, if that's your wave 2 complete now, it's just an ABCD, sorry, an ABC or WXY, effectively, whatever. And we're now pumping. Yeah, you got to count the waves. There's got to be 5 waves. Yeah, and then the next question is going to be this. If this was wave 1, and it's the same. Hey Craig, how's it going? Welcome. It's the same question that I ask myself all the time with any other token. With Slurf, I'm doing exactly the same thing. I'm considering the possibility of a wave 1 on Slurf prior to the current price action. So I'm contemplating that. Then if this is a corrective move, then the next wave, which is the wave 3, has to expand in such a way in 5 waves, and those 5 waves can have subsets of their own waves. The impulsive ones will also have 5 waves, and the impulsive ones will also have 5 waves. The corrective ones will be ABCs, and the corrective ones will be ABCs. So they're all kind of subsets of each other. But the idea is that this next wave, if we're about to expand like this, like impulse rather, then this is going to be 5 waves. It could be more prolonged, but it's going to be 5 waves, and it's going to be lots of waves. But fundamentally, it's going to be 5 waves. Wherever we end up, this 9 cents, wherever 9 cents is, not the top to the 3 here, to there, basically to 9 cents, to there, is going to be the top of the 1, yeah? And so Elliott wave rules say that once you have the top of the 1, when you have the 3, the wave 3, yeah, so this is the end of the 2, then you have a wave 3. Let's say the wave 3 comes here, and then the next move, which is the next correction, which is the 4, it can't come underneath the top of the 1, which will mean that 9 cents will be a very important area to hold support for a 4, and then you'll be looking for a 5, right? Now, this is the question. What happens if we impulse now? We can count 5 waves. Yeah, we don't go all the way up there. Yeah. Let's say we have 5 wave impulse now. Very impulsive, 5 waves. We count 5 waves and it doesn't go all the way up there. Potentially what you could argue in that context is this whole first wave you can just throw it away potentially. Potentially, this could be the wave one. Like, I don't know. And the way you would know is you have this kind of impulsive wave, and then you just come back underneath the top of where you're meant to hold. Yeah, and no one really knows how this is going to play out. Yeah, so if we end up going up and then coming right back up below that point in a correction, some kind of zigzag like that, then this whole kind of first count is scrapped, because you've just broken the rules. The rule is that the 4 can't come underneath the 1. So if we have a 5 impulsive waves now to wherever, I don't know where, yeah, and then we just come right back underneath the top of the 1, then you've just literally invalidated this count because of the broken rules. Now, potentially, then you could be looking at not 5 waves, it's still a combination of ABCs, where this is just some kind of higher time frame extended flat correction, yeah, or this is where the impulse actually began, and this was not impulsive at all. This was just whatever, you just scrap that way. So there's like 2 options to consider in this context, and we'll have to kind of analyze that. At all points we have to apply the rules. I mean, if anyone's watching and they're not familiar with the Elliott wave rules, then I've kind of made 2 videos on my channel, and just going kind of, they're very short, they're not long, they're basically for my live stream. And what I've done is I've just cut out the bits, that the 2 bits that relate to Elliott waves. This is the first one, Elliott wave rules. This is actually the most important one. And then here I'm just applying Elliott waves to Slurf, which is a bit longer. It's only 28 minutes. And that's what I'm trying to do. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to count, and I'm trying to apply the rules. And it's an ongoing work. It's a work in process. So I've got lots of different ideas of what could happen, and we just have to see what does happen. Is that count right? It could be. Is this correction right? It could be. Yeah, it could be. It looked, it kind of, to me, it made sense what I was doing. Maybe not to the random spectator. Basically, you know, you have a trend-based. Did I do trend-based? I can't remember actually. Oh yeah, that's why I was expecting a little bit lower, because we never actually got to the 1-to-1. We never actually got to the 1-to-1 from this end of that to that to there to there. But the 618 did see, it did. And maybe this last push wasn't as bearish. This is actually quite bullish, that I was expecting to go lower and it didn't go. You know, that's quite bullish. When you're expecting it to go, let's say you're expecting it to go higher and it doesn't go, that's actually more bearish than you think. And if you're expecting it to go lower and it doesn't go as low as you think, it's actually more bullish than you think. And so in this context, I was contemplating lower, because I was kind of hoping for this 1-to-1, this ABC to go down to the 1-to-1. And it looks like it's, I don't know, I mean, who knows? Maybe it will still go down, but at the moment it doesn't look like it wants to, right? And maybe in the context of the alt season, which I think is just about beginning, I don't know, I'm not 100%, because I want to see an injection of volume, and that, for me, volume is really important. And until I see that, I won't be 100% sure. The volume really matters. So let me just pull, where's the other trend line that I had? There it is. And so here on the daily time frame, it doesn't look like we've touched. Actually, why is it not looking like it now? I don't know, it's weird, because yesterday I was looking at it and, oh yeah, there it is. So yes, on the 4-hour time frame, for some bizarre reason, the daily and the 4-hour look slightly differently. But you see here, actually, on the 4-hour time frame, it looks like we have bounced. We have had a reaction from that. I'm just zooming in here. I'm not 100, like, I mean, it could be impulsive, right? And, you know, like TRVL is quite an unusual token because it just moves in straight lines. Um, it could be, I mean, it's possible that this is some kind of impulse. This is the beginning of a one, like the first child, the first grandchild. I don't know. It could be. Oh God, what have I done? Who knows? Like, I'll start tracking it to see if it is, but it also could just be correcting. It could just be more corrections, and the key is that the rules are followed. Could it be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 like that? Like the first wave? It looks like it could be the first kind of mini wave to begin this whole move. And the only, as long as the rules are followed and based on Elliott wave theory, if we have kind of started our waves, you just can't come underneath the starting point, which is there. Is it there or is it here? There's the other thing you have to kind of look at. Did we actually start over here? That's quite impulsive. You know, was this our first wave? All the way to here. And this is actually a 3, and this is still our first wave. It's all first wave. And we just have to, and then in that case, you can't make a lower, you can't come lower than there. That could work too, potentially. Look, 1, 2, I don't know, 3, A, B, C, 4 for a little 5. Yeah, potentially. And that's kind of how it works with TRVL. You kind of have these kind of slow starts and then it starts to pick up. But really what I'm looking for is volume. So I'll keep a track of this. Possible, it's possible this is it. It's possible this is the next beginning of the next wave. Or maybe it actually started here. Because really that's where it's impulsing here somewhere. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're having some kind of, we actually could be just in a correction here now. Some kind of extended flat here for the next big one. The next one, which is a 3. And then we just have to keep track, and then that becomes your first one. This whole thing then becomes your first one, and then you still have to put a 2, 3, 4, 5, and that whole thing could just become your first one. So we have to just time it as well and see how this plays out. All right, so potentially we could be in some kind of beginning, and then we have to just see how that plays out. And I like that we have taken the low, had a bullish engulfing reversal candle. That's kind of what you want to see on a higher time frame. You see these kind of bullish engulfing reversal candles. That's a start, isn't it? See here on the Bybit, it actually didn't take the liquidity from the lows. I think that was on Gates. So Gates and people sold into that. Whereas here on Bybit, you have a brand new daily level, which hasn't been tapped of liquidity yet. See that? So just in that kind of lower region where I was saying potentially this is where the floor could be. And obviously I had this kind of lower level where X marks the spot, where we had a lower daily level and some kind of massive confluence, and it's just the prices just struggle to get there. So you kind of have a front run of the bounce. And while I was thinking it would be nice to put in a lower low so we can change market structure here, what do the bulls need to do now? Well, let's take the price all the way to above 12 cents and put in a higher high. And if you get that price action, then this really is gonna impulse up. Then there's no reason why. I mean, it could, but I don't think people are going to be selling into that the second time as vigorously. Yeah, the second time the price comes, no one's going to be thinking, oh my God, it's back at 12 cents, sell. They'll be thinking, oh shit, it's back at 12 cents. This is probably going to go higher. yeah, probably just hold on for a little bit longer. That's how people will think, especially after you've managed to cross 9 cents and flip it into support. I still think there's possibly a strong area of resistance at 9 cents if we get up there anytime soon, maybe this month. And so just bear that in mind. So potentially we could have an impulsive wave one. So while this whole wave was quite short, you see, from here to here, it was only a period of from January to March. Potentially we could be in a much kind of more extended, longer, higher time frame wave, where while here the wave one was what? It was like a blip. It's basically one day. I am possibly thinking that we could just kind of maybe wave one up to 9 cents. That would be a wave one correction for the wave three. And so we're still in the wave three. It's just that you break down the waves into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think we could be in a little bit more prolonged, as long as it's impulsive. And so just bear that in mind. We want it to be impulsive. We don't want it. We're not looking for a corrective price action where it kind of goes up and down very slowly from candle to candle. We're looking for market buying or selling, and it has to be continuous. All right. If we start seeing that, then we know that we're on track with our analysis. All right. So we're keeping a track of this. Right now, Bitcoin is just going nowhere. It's kind of going sideways, which I talked about a bit earlier. And I think when people are thinking to themselves, is it safe to buy altcoins? And I think yes, as long as Bitcoin is here. As long as Bitcoin is holding 67,736 as the support, the point of control, and it's just consolidating for some kind of potentially a breakout, then I think, yeah, it's probably a good place. This month you can probably kind of dabble in your altcoins, and you know the ETH ETF is about to be launched soon. I don't know when, and so that's obviously extremely bullish for the whole of crypto. We might actually get BTC to break out with that ETF, which would be extremely bullish for altcoins, because then we could see a massive pump rally. And so what you're seeing now is kind of the people are a little bit smarter, they're a little bit aware, they're kind of positioning in now, they're getting the kind of the vibes of alt season, which is what I've been talking about. So that's kind of TRVL. It's all good. Yeah, I think a lot of people were worried a little bit, and of course I was as well. You know, how low are we going to go? Potentially the low is in. Potentially I think the low is in. It looks kind of like a bottoming here, isn't it? Like a little bit of a double bottom. The inability to take the liquidity for the second time could be good. Confirmation obviously is going to be to get back above that neckline, flip that 50% fib into support for continuation. Once you see that, then you're going to be thinking, yeah, this is really good. If we can't do that for whatever reason, you could also be inverse head and shoulders. Like, we're looking for a bottoming pattern here. Naturally, the first thing people will be thinking about here is a double bottom, but you can also end up with a triple bottom, some kind of inverse head and shoulders pattern. Although here we made a higher head, but on the other exchanges potentially it is lower. So, and obviously market structure is something to go by. I mean, it's kind of keep an eye on market structure. Put in a higher high here. Looks like it. Higher low and a higher high. So that's the higher high. We'll probably need to go down and up one more time. I don't know where. Just put in a higher low and then take out that high, wherever the high is. Potentially. That's kind of what it looks like. Right. Any questions on that? Have a look at the Dtravel page. It's good to have a look at it. See if I don't always look at it every day, but Kevin is hilarious. You become a crypto millionaire. Where are you traveling to first? Shall I write? To TRVL to the moon. I'm going to the moon. That's where I'm going first. To the moon. I'll become a crypto millionaire. I'm traveling to space, dude. No? Thanks, David. Appreciate it. How many Airbnb hosts do you know? These are interesting questions, huh? It's a bit different these days. I know myself. I know my sister. I know Cynthia. That's 3. Do I know any more? Oh man, there's only I only know 3 hosts. My mum was a host. It's potentially 4. All right, it's quite fun, huh? He's having a little bit of fun with the community. Let's have a look at the Telegram as well while we're here. See if there's some people can't get Telegram, so that's why I look at it. New booking process. This is what we want to see. Every time a booking is processed, you can imagine that TRVL is increasing in value. London's leading short-term rental company, Air Home. That's amazing, huh? Unwind Escapes. Oh, look at this. Some buys. That's new, isn't it? New booking site activated. James is saying, yes, good, busy preparing for a big June. That's alpha right there. A big June. If Dtravel are preparing for a big June, then that can only mean one thing. Excited to finally get a lot of what we have been working on out of the door. You kind of, there's a little bit of alpha there, huh? A little bit of kind of like some hints there. So if you're not positioned in yet because you sold and you haven't brought back in, just be aware of what he just said. Anyway, the rest is kind of here. Look, Alistair, I don't know who you are, mate. Pure astrology. And what did I say? What did I say? TRVL coming to the end of its correction. TRVL bottoming ideas, rounding bottom, V-shaped, pure astrology. Look, 1st of June, I posted TRVL coming to the end of its correction. Yeah. And how is that pure astrology? I was kind of right, no? What the hell? I literally, on the day that it made the low, I said it's coming to the bottom. And he's saying it's pure astrology. That makes no sense. Look at that. That's the 1st of June. See, look. See that? TRVL coming to the end of its correction. 1st of June. I wasn't wrong, was I? Alistair? Whatever. If you actually bought, you'd be up 10%. Like I literally could have made you 10%. All right, that's TRVL. There is something else I was looking at on TL. So yeah, so this is quite interesting. So let me just kind of, if we are able now to take out this high, then there was this trading group that I was a part of a few years ago, and this is actually their trade plan. So I'm just going to give you their trade plan. So they use the 8-hour time frame, yeah, and it's called break, retest, resumption. Yeah, that's what it's called. I don't know what the actual name is, but that's the methodology. And in the context of this, you have a clear trend line, and what you want to see, and they use the 8-hour time frame, and you can apply this to any chart or any asset. Effectively, what you want to see is a break without taking out the low. You want to see some kind of retest. And actually, these guys are a little bit conservative, very, very risk adverse. Their entry is taking out the high of the break. That's their entry. And so it's quite a wide invalidation for my liking. I prefer to just catch the bottom. Personally, I really do prefer small invalidations right at the bottom or right at the top. But technically, that's the trade. Yeah. And who knows, like, that really is the trade. And now if we do take out the high, you basically don't want to see the price come back to the lows again. That's your invalidation. That's their trade plan. It's called break, retest, resumption. And then you kind of have this feeling that that trend line is, not only is it broken, but the bullish resumption has returned, and you're looking for higher prices. So it's just something to bear in mind. I'll be looking out for that trade idea as it pans out. It's a good one, actually. I mean, if people don't really know how to trade, or they're looking to learn how to trade, this is a really easy trade plan that doesn't happen often, and when it does, it can be quite profitable. It's called the break, retest, resumption. You usually use the 8-hour candle, and you just mark it by the highs. Really, when you take the high, you mark it by, and the price should go up. What else is there that I wanted to look at as well? Just a little bit of just bring this into, I've got to clean up my charts, obviously. Oh my god, I've got too much stuff. All right, forget it, just hide it. Yes, I wanted to look at something else as well quickly, just to hide all this stuff so I can so I'm going to look at I just want to look at the indicators as well, because I want to see what they're saying. Basically, the CCI is the one that I'm looking at. This is the weekly CCI. No, it's hard to tell. The weekly is hard to tell. What's the monthly looking like? All right, so the monthly, we had a zero line reject, continuation, rejection, and then we're coming back into support. That's fine. I don't see anything there. Let's have a look at it. Okay, that's good. This 3-day. This is the 3-day CCI. So we came back above the -100. We came back test the trend line. And so naturally on this CCI, what you want to see is you want to see this go up. And that's some kind of zero line reject at the -100 point after a break, back test, and continuation. Basically the same idea, but in a bit easier to see, a little bit more of a pictorial form. That's quite good. I like that. So it's a good time to buy, actually. So here on the 2-day, you've got the potential of some kind of inverse head and shoulders like that. You see that? So sometimes with the CCI, it's easier to see things rather than looking at the candles. So we do need to break that, and that's probably going to happen when we take out that high. Probably. That's what I'm thinking. If we take out that high, this will probably now then go up to that like that. And then we'll be up there. And the CCI is leading actually, so that's why I like it. That's a 2-day chart. So let me have a look at the daily. Yeah, so we basically, actually what you can see on the daily is quite interesting. A little bit of bullish divergence on this daily time frame. I'll show you. You see the lows here are all higher. See these lows? Higher low, higher low, higher low. Yeah. And you see the price lower low, lower low. Actually, that made a higher low. A little bit of a divergence here. Effectively, what this is saying is that the price is oversold. In the same way you see here as the highs are it. This is a lower high, high, high. That's overbought. And so naturally what you want to see here is what we really want to see is this to kind of go back into the top part. That would be really good to see. Keep an eye on that. Let's have a look at these lower time frames now. Yeah, nothing really to report. A bit of oversold, coming back into test. All right, that's TRVL. No questions? There's a few people here. What else? Anyone want me to look at stumping? Anyone have anything interesting?